Special on him, just his lifestyle and how he conducts each day. Creature habit and very successful habits. Good morning, New Hampshire. Good morning, Maine. Good morning, New England. Good morning, worldwide. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Google. Play the pulse of an H. J Dog's not too happy about it. Cinco de Mayo, and it's rainy out there. He's busy today. We got a packed week for you. He's not in a good mood because of the rain. It's going to stick around a little bit, kind of we had some pockets over the weekend, but we also had some pockets of some wet stuff yesterday. But we have a lot going on this morning, including going to get an update on the driver's license side of things. Believe it or not, with all the news from President Trump wanting to reopen Alcatraz to making movies in America, getting everyone talking again on something he wants. Amazing how he does that. Last night, we'll have the latest for you. Plus, an update on all the busy legislative stuff this week locally with Anna Brown, Citizens Count. And of course, we're counting down. I'm just focused by the minute on Wednesday. We go 12 hours. It's going to officially on Wednesday. Veterans are going to be front and center for 12 hours on our network here at the Pulse of an Age. Kelly Ayotte, the governor, proclaiming this Wednesday, May 7th, make 12 hours count for Veterans Count, part of Easter Seals. We go 12 hours for our veterans, my 11th annual. And you know what? With all this debate in America, who's entitled to what? Where's mine? Where's mine? Who I'm entitled to this? Let's focus on veterans for a day. And we're going to do it big time on Wednesday. We go 12 hours this year. Affordable housing, mental health, anxiety, stress, depression, not doing a very good job taking care of veterans on either front. So we're going to look for some solutions. Join us. I mentioned earlier out of the gate, driver license is very much in the news right now. Not only the real ID stuff, if you want to fly as of Wednesday, the 7th, speaking of Wednesday, you either need a passport or the real ID, which, by the way, if you just got it last week at the motor vehicles, you can get it quite easily. Department of Motor Vehicles, one of their 14 locations, the real ID, but it will take about a month to get it mailed to you, which is standard. So if you're flying Wednesday, passport, military ID, or the real ID, but even New Hampshire's driver licenses, as they have the new design. John Marasco, the director of motor vehicles, was on our show towards the end of the week going over all this, and we're going to kind of get some more clarity as driver licenses are actually in the news. Good morning, Director. Good. I'm okay. I'm sure your monitor is going off, and you're probably dealing with a lot of stuff between now and Wednesday, including the newly designed driver licenses. Because on the federal side, if I remember right, they only update their systems once a quarter. So there's a little bit of confusion over driver's licenses. We thought we'd try and get a little more clarity with you this morning. I know, Director Marasco, you're not a spokesperson for TSA on the federal side, so I'm not asking you to pretend to be, or portend to be. But I guess my question is, if someone Saturday or last week went to any one of your locations and got a real ID new license done correctly fairly quickly, they're issued their old license until the new one is sent to them, correct, and a piece of paper that shows that they've gone through the real ID process. Can they go to the airport as of Wednesday and fly with those things? And also, Director Marasco, the recently in the last year, New Hampshire kind of upgraded or did a new, a new image, if you will, of the driver's license. In other words, if you have a current license right now, it might have the new artwork, I guess, for lack of a better term. That even was causing some sort of like backlogs, right? All right. So bring as much as you can on Wednesday. If you've recently gotten the real ID, but you haven't gotten the laminated version in the mail, bring your old license, the paperwork, and anything you can. Thank you, Director Marasco, for straightening it out. Thank you. Wow, a lot going on. A lot going on. We're gonna we'll have some fun in a moment. Talking about some of the stuff today. Cinco de Mayo. I wish it was a little more. Well, it doesn't matter for Cinco de Mayo what the weather is. Uh, I'm sorry, I just had to. There's so much going on in the news that it's just like some of these stories I'm hearing coming out of the weekend. I saw 60 Minutes last night, did like a 14-minute package, you'd call it, on going after the Trump administration or the president, Donald Trump, for going after law firms that have been, working for Democrat interests, making it look, all this stuff. And I'm just going, oh my goodness, they're in this big Paramount CBS $20 million spat with Donald Trump over I guess basically the question if they've been over the top on their coverage in terms of not being fair and balanced, if you will, or let's just say not anti-inflammatory. Remember ABC News, George Stephanopoulos. I mean, his stuff's unbelievable. Of course, George Stephanopoulos. I'm not a journalist, George Stephanopoulos. I'm not a journalist, George Stephanopoulos. That one. I'm a Democrat political professional working for ABC, getting paid a ton of money. Remember what he was saying about Trump in that New York case? And he basically ABC had to cough up all millions and millions of dollars because George was not telling the truth, if you will, and slamming Trump. But all this stuff continues. Meanwhile, President Trump last night stirring it up even more. I just have to chuckle now. I don't know what word to use. Wants to put tariffs on movies that are not U.S. movies that are not made in the United States. And he's not. Again, it's another one of these things where I guess I know a little bit about the movie industry, having written a few novels that for years now have been in the works, if you will, and I've learned a lot from the people in the movie business. He's not wrong. I mean, China and other countries, Canada, they've eaten our lunch, taking our filming, giving all these basically, you're talking about tariffs and trade wars. It's been going on for years to make movies in other countries that could be made here. So here you go, President Trump. People will jump up and down. Oh, he wants to punish those who don't want to make movies here. And now he wants to, he mentioned possibly reopening Alcatraz. And I have to laugh. Nancy Pelosi giving a comment about that. Miss San Francisco. Wow. Wow, Nancy Pelosi. I just get some of this hypocrisy is unbelievable. Remember, I mean, I love Nancy Pelosi. I love it and how much money she and her husband have made from her being a public servant in Congress. Do you remember during all the COVID nuts, the COVID crap? Do you remember in San Francisco, she got the hairdresser, the beauty part, or the beautician's business in trouble because she made them open. when they were supposed to be closed to do her stuff for her, but everyone else had to go, couldn't go out. They couldn't go, but she could go. I mean, it's California. What do you expect? Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an Age. Speaking of some of this stuff, have you ever heard of, did you know I asked one of the managers in our building this morning when I came here into the Capitol, our studios, have you ever heard of no mow May? Like when you mow your lawn, no mow May, and he was in Bedford. I mean, I'm sorry, Bow, not Bed. Well, Bow's kind of like Bedford. He was in Bow, nice home, and he said, "No, I've never heard of that." I go, "Well, I'll tell you what it is. Over in places like Portsmouth, people don't mow their lawns in the month of May." I see, I'm so out of touch. I thought it was to kind of save the old little gasoline amount that you put in your mower if you don't have electric mower. No, no, it's so that birds and the bees can get more stuff, more pollination if you let your lawn go. And maybe more than weeds will grow, like some wildflowers. So I don't know who thinks this stuff up. No Mo May, all that going on. Cinco de Mayo. Hey Google, hey Alexa, play the Pulse of an H. A little bit later on, we're getting an update from the State House. Busy legislative week. Anna Brown, citizenscount.org. Another statement President Trump said last night, talking about tariffs and the economy. He doesn't think that the tariff and the trade stuff until he cuts deals is going to mean that we're going into a recession. We'll hear from Doug Tengden, our own economic thinker with World Market Advisors. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll tell you what, I don't know. I'll do my best. I promise. I'm going to do my best to tell you what no Mo May. I mean, if there's not enough movements out there, we'll be back in a moment. I love that promo, J Dog. Your bet this great promo for your podcast. And by the way, our poll question up on X this morning. We'll let you know the results tomorrow. We'll keep it up today. The Pulse of an H on X is: do you support the push, which has been going on for a long time, so people act like they didn't know about it, for the real ID to fly? TSA, the real ID for your license. Do you support that? Yes or no? Just asking if people are worked up about it or not. J-Dog, our podcast, our Pulse Podcast Network here, we have our own network now locally. It's not just Bet This with J-Dog or Contact Politics that we do on the political side, our sports stuff, but we have some great local podcasts we've aggregated there for you, like Dan Egan 603, Mike Cody's Business Podcast, just to show you some great local podcasts, because there's so many podcasts out there, but a lot of times people can't find the podcaster, or the podcaster can't find the audience. So we're connecting the dots. All right. Hey, Google. Hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an Age. So I don't know if didn't know this, but it's Monday, so we'll have some fun on this for a moment. Or not fun, but it's public information. No Mo May. You're like, what the heck did Jack just say? No Mo, like MOW, mow your lawn. No Mo May is an annual campaign encouraging people to avoid mowing their lawns in May to support pollinators and biodiversity. Not making this up. And help those insects and biodiversity and pollinators. So if you want to help those latter categories, don't mow your lawn or weed whack in May, I guess. Now, I asked some people this morning if they ever heard of this. It's been around for a while. They said no. But go down Portsmouth, like Lincoln Avenue in Portsmouth. You'll see all the signs, no mow May. I got to be honest. I totally have to be honest, after living in that community for a while. When I was walking a lot in the afternoon, I saw these signs in May. I used to say when I was younger, HE double hockey sticks. I had no idea what that was about at all. No Mo May. But I noticed on every lawn that this sign would be no Mo May, and there's like a picture of like an insect. The lawn was like, 2.5 feet growing to seed. So I'm like, what is going on? People, I honestly thought, you know what I thought it was about, to be totally honest with you, because it was Portsmouth. I thought it was like I thought it was a climate change thing, like don't mow your lawn, save the little amount of gas you're going to put in your lawnmower or your weed whacker. Don't use fossil fuel cutting your grass. That's what I thought it was, but I didn't know it was for the pollinators and the little insects. So and the biodiversity, you got to love this stuff. So I started thinking, maybe we can expand this a little bit, like no clean May, like don't even clean your house. The breadcrumbs on the floor, those ants got to eat. The mice are coming out for a little snack after the winter. The chipmunks are going nuts out there too. So maybe if you just didn't clean your house inside as well for a month, let all the food accumulate, don't empty the garbage for the little critters and the rodents. Might be a good thing to do. I don't know. Just no mo may is so if you haven't heard about it, you're behind the curve. It's for the little insects and the biodiversity. And it's funny thing is I got to be honest, I probably not the insects as much as birds. I'm a bird person. I love birds. I notice despite no mo May, the birds are going crazy out there. They're coming back. Seeing the little yellow ones now, and they're in the trees and making nests. I love that. We got about three birds making nests right outside our home. I don't know if they know it's no mo May. They're doing fine because where I am, no one knows about no mo May. But in Portsmouth, it's a big deal. You'll see the signs right on the lawns. No mow May for the little biodiversity it is. So don't mow your lawn from. By the way, what about you've ever noticed some people's? I mean, I just love everyone's different. Some people leave the Christmas lights up all year round on the porch of the house all year round, so they have to take them down and put them up again with a staple gun like Chevy Chase and Christmas Vacation. You know what? The other one is, you ever seen the house where they just don't cut the lawn? They just let it go to seed, like Steve Boucher's house, one of our great contributors. Granted, Get Up and Go. He's not too popular in his neighborhood. He never cuts his lawn. He just lets it go to seed. They don't need no mow May. They just do that year round. So I don't know some of these things. The other one, a buddy sent to me. You're gonna love this one. It's I gotta pull it up. And tomorrow night in Portsmouth. You ready for this one? Okay. Tomorrow night in Portsmouth. Speaking of Portsmouth, city council member. They want to charge impact fees for children's sporting activities. Impact fees, impact fees from the kids' sports. Like they're not paying enough in property taxes in Portsmouth. They just had an appraisal in the town. So, the people are getting hosed every month in Port. I mean, all the property taxes, so they want an impact fee for sports. What's next? So Joe Moore, who's the unofficial mayor of Portsmouth, he doesn't. Joe's a buddy of mine. He's Mr. Portsmouth. He's from there. He grew up there. So did his smarter, prettier, better half. They're like Portsmouth icons. I call him Portsmouth royalty, but he's a great guy, good friend. He's a character. He's got more supporters than Mayor McEachern there. I like the mayor of Portsmouth. He's an all right. I used to walk by his house a lot, but Joe just doesn't want to run for mayor. He doesn't want to go shake all those hands and babies, and go to the bean suppers on weekend. But he's the unofficial mayor. He posted on the Portsmouth page. He sent me the text on the sports impacts fees charging for sports. Joe says, "What's next? A toll booth on Islington Street?" I, okay, Joe and Rye. Biodiversity, take it away. I think we probably do it all year round. Don't even cut your lawn. Hey, Joe, how are you? Good. How are things in Rye? Hey, well, hold on, Joe. Do you got cell phone service over there yet? Okay. Well, I did. My wife and I love Petey's. I just know on Petey's, I don't even bring my phone in because you're not going to get a reception when you're sitting there having a chowder or a cold beer. What's going on in Rye? I love that, by the way. That's cool. That's cool. Yep. Hmm. Yep. Like wildflowers. Like when I see it when I'm walking, and then like sort of like a bank, I'll see those. I don't know what. I just don't know all the names. Like those crawling. They beautiful like purple and white like wildflower stuff on the hill. Clover. Yep. 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 Right. Dandelions for sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's like they want it to be like the golf course. Right. I just no, I just thought it was because people were asking me. They go, "Hey, it's no mo May," and then someone else said, "What? What?" Hey, I got to be honest with you. The beekeeper thing. And by the way, I love that movie with Jason, the beekeeper. I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen the movie? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh no, I think it's I think it's amazing. In fact, one thing I learned at the VA, I don't know if you knew this, someone there like you actually suggested for veterans to learn how to, start to care for a hive and bees for therapy from the mental health side. So they actually won an award at the Manchester VA for beekeeping because I think there's so much to it. And you don't really know. You said you had 300 hives? Wow. So answer me this because I don't want to, I just kind of have fun sometimes with stuff that I think is fun to talk about. I appreciate you listening, but I want to know more seriously because I think bees are amazing, just the whole colony and how it works. How are we doing with what I'd call bumblebees, honeybees, and just in bees, because I've heard different stories over the years that they've had a real challenge. I'm talking globally. How are we doing with the bees, if you will? Not you, obviously, with 300 hives, but are they doing okay, or are they having a hard time? Yeah. Yep. So here's a dumb question. If we're gonna have a small garden, because you actually this is on to another subject. So I'm trying to think. We have someone come up in a minute, so I'd love to go longer, but real quick, I'd love to have you come back because maybe JDoc can, when you hang up, get your we'll give you information. I'd love to have you come back because one of the things I think about is, we don't have the farms we used to have in New Hampshire and Vermont and Maine anymore. These stone walls when you're driving around communities in the Lakes region or Goffstown or Dunbarton, that used to be a farm there when you see these old stone walls meandering in a field. But one thing that I'm amazed at, I got to be honest, when I was a kid, I actually liked to have a little garden because my grandfather, when I was a kid, before I'd go off to sports, he'd come by and buy my radishes and tomatoes, and of course, a couple bucks in my pocket when I was 8 years old. I thought I was rich. But my point is, can there things people do with like a little garden, like even if it's a condo or out in their patio, to help bees, like certain flowers they can just put, in an area that might be good for bees? And what would those flowers be? Wow. So clover. If you want to help bees, plant clover. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Oh, yeah. Awesome. Well, we're gonna get you back real quick. You gotta tell us, later about how you get into beekeeping. I think it's awesome. Thank you. Good stuff. Only in this show can we talk about no mo man, get a serious beekeeper. All right, we come back. Anna Brown, sorry, went a little late, but I have fascinating stuff from you. Always learn something new every day. Citizens Count next. All right, welcome back. Anna Brown, Citizens Count. A lot happening at the State House. Actually, quite a bit that we don't hear about, other than Anna Brown with great updates, citizenscount.org. And I apologize. It was a fascinating segment from a beekeeper on the seacoast who was who heard me and gave me a great discussion on planting clover and other ways to help bees pollinate. Fascinating. Good morning, Anna. Sorry for the delay. Well, yeah. No, I was going to say there is a lot going on, so take it away and update us because I think a lot of people, there's so much national noise, they don't really get a chance to fathom. And no offense to local media, they don't cover the state house like they used to. Hmm. Yep. Well, hmm, right, right. Well, Wednesday, Governor Ayotte is proclaiming New Hampshire and the legislature and all the whole across the state officially make 12 hours count for our veterans. So we're going 12 hours for our veterans count, part of Easter Seals, the 11th annual. I've done this, but Thursday we'll get you on the results on some of the legislative stuff and let you go because I know you have a 10 o'clock. Thank you, Anna. Anna Brown, Citizens Count. I want to take a minute before we go to a break, the very important minute. I just mentioned our Make 12 Hours Count Wednesday for Veterans Count. If you've heard this show before on Wednesday and you've supported it, thank you. But you've never heard what we're going to expose. And I'm being serious. We're going to expose a lot of stuff you need to know. Talk about hypocrisy in our country. I got this note this morning, 10 minutes ago, from a special operator. What is he said? Special warfare, Navy, land, air, sea. That's code for Navy SEAL. Listen to your show, Jack. And you need to shake this up on Wednesday. Politicians, everyone running for Congress, need to pull their head out of their blank and and quit ignoring what works for us, especially on the mental health side. Number two, he said, this is big stuff, and I don't blame the VA locally because this is federal rules. But the new VA director and the VA in Washington, they need to stop issuing narcotics. He says like opioids and opiates. like candy. That's what he says. Now, Wednesday, we have the parents of a Marine when he left service after multiple tours in the Middle East, became a state trooper in the New Hampshire State Police. In fact, he was head of the special response, the SWAT team, and he was battling PTSD. They got worse over the years. And at one point, his parents will be joining me Wednesday. He was issued more than 30 prescription medications from the VA and the federal health side. 30 pills, 30. Not one of them was treating his PTSD. It just made him a zombie, his parents will tell you on Wednesday. Bureaucracy needs to die at the VA. You know how many veterans will tell you on Wednesday half the problem they have with the VA is navigating the system. They need an advocate from Veterans Count, the program we're benefiting Wednesday. They need an advocate just to navigate the bureaucracy. And the veteran finally says, who on the special operations side, he goes, Jack, I pay out of pocket for my own supplements and my own therapies, blood work exams and things like that. My seeing a therapist, it works, but I don't get any coverage because the VA won't cover the simple stuff. But he said they will send morphine in the mail. True story, he said. He said, continue to shake up the circus. The clowns need it. First of all, thank you for your service. And we're gonna tear the cover off the ball on Wednesday. It's time to stop medicating our veterans and making them addicts. How can anyone in the United States Senate or Congress or involved in healthcare let this crap continue? How do you sleep at night? I think of those parents of that state police commander, Marine veteran, who was issued 30 pills. I can't comprehend taking 30 pills a day. Can you? Would you do that to your loved one? This is a Marine. This was a state police commander who took his own life. He was probably so medicated, he didn't know what day it was. There are therapies that work. We're going to talk about them Wednesday. Canine, horse, equine immersion therapy, beekeeping. It's interesting that beekeeper called in from the seacoast. Meditation, seeing a therapist, talking to a therapist. Why do I have cold sweats at night? Well, tell me what you did during the service. Oh, I was a night stalker. Well, what's a night stalker? Well, we were like the taxi cab in the air for special operations, and I had to kill a lot of people going in and out of combat zones and from mountaintops. And I have a hard time living with killing people now and knowing I did that, even though it was my mission. So I can't sleep at night. Well, let's talk about it a little bit. They don't do that. They don't have therapists that do that. They want to give that person a pill to numb the pain, like alcohol, drugs, opioids. Don't get to the root of the PTSD. Canine therapy works. These therapies, cold water plunging, we're going to hear about Wednesday. I'd never heard of this. These therapies are working, but our system ignores the therapies that work. Why? Less than 1% serve 340. I'm so sick and tired of hearing about people that are entitled to health care and all these benefits. And some of them they're not even Americans. Okay. They came here illegally, and we're debating this. We're debating this every day. States like Maine and Mass. And you have veterans suffering. How can you sleep at night? Why do you sleep at night? You say you have bleeding heart? Why do you start letting your heart bleed for our veterans? They bled for us. This special operator who sent me the note this morning, I guarantee you he bled for us and has injuries, physical and emotional. And we're giving him opioids? What the I almost said an F word. What the blank is that? Knock it off. We're going to get to it Wednesday. Tearing the cover off the ball. Make 12 hours count. Thank you for that email. It's very powerful. I'm going to get you on the show Wednesday, and you can tell everyone about it. It's time to expose the truth and do better. The therapies are right in front of us here in New Hampshire, and they're not even covered. Back on the Pulse of an Age, talking about the economy with Doug Tengden next. So we'll get to Doug Tangden here right now. Before we do, though, there was a sports earthquake in Winnipeg with the Winnipeg Jets in Canada last. There was a sports earthquake, and J Dog, you're the team you wanted to win, and I wanted to win. The St. Louis Blues, coached by former Bruins coach Montgomery. 2 seconds left. Winnipeg tied it up in regular third period, and then they went to double overtime before defeating the Blues. 2 seconds. They had a 2-goal lead there. Wow. But did you see the video outside of the fans in Winnipeg absolutely going bonkers? You thought about me. No, no, you thought about me. That's the only good thing that happened yesterday. You thought about me, your buddy. Yeah, you do. You send me those emojis. You send me those like Charlie Brown, Linus, we're buddies. You said we walk and talk together, you said. Best buddies. Cinco de Mayo today. It is. Doug, worldmarketadvisors.com. Doug, President Trump last night, amongst other things, saying he doesn't think the tariffs and the period to cut deals and the trade stuff will mean we go into a recession. Obviously, he hopes not, and I hope not too. But Doug, take it away because we talked about this the last week. Right. Yeah. Well, it there is this period, and again, I've said from day one. I'm going to repeat what I said when the president first started talking. Well, by the way, people act like, what is all this terror stuff? He campaigned on it, folks. He talked about it for over a year. He's done what he said, okay? But when it started with Canada, Mexico, and maybe China, I could see China, Canada, Mexico. That's marginal. But here in New England, that's kind of a big deal with Canada. But in terms of, and I'm going to say this, no one talks about this because everyone makes Trump the bad guy. Canada's been eating our lunch on a lot of stuff, and no one's talked about it for decades. I mean, I could go through everything from agriculture, dairy, farms, wood, paper, subsidies, tariffs. So don't think Canada's holier than thou. And by the way, they're terrible tippers when it comes to restaurants, but I love Canada. But my point is, I said doing this, it's ironic Warren Buffett is in the news today, Doug. As you know, he's stepping down as CEO, but going to be chairman of the board of Berkshire Hathaway. He doesn't like using the trade stuff to rattle the sabers, but Trump is talking about he has a vision to make more, bring back, do everything, including movies, factories, machines, make them here, cars, automobile parts, semiconductor, artificial intelligence, do it here. Now, it's a political and economic gamble because he's probably not wrong in the long run. The question is the short term and the price you pay. That's what I've said all along in this, the short term. And I think it's about a month and a half before people form a summer opinion on their pocketbooks and wallets. And I think it will go into the midterms. And I think there's a precarious political risk for Republicans in the White House because they can't have a huge blue wave and expect to get a lot done in Congress for the back half, the last 2 years of the president's term. Yeah. All right, Doug, worldmarketadvisors.com. Keep an eye out on everything. Wasn't that great? 300 hives he maintains. 300. Oh, I love it. And if you haven't seen the movie The Beekeeper, Doug, you got to watch it. All right. I like that. It's like Tony the Tiger with frosted flakes. No sugar on those flakes. Hey, Google. Hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an Age. Michael Graham on deck. Pastor Charlie's going to be on in the next hour, talking a little faith, a little more on the veterans and what we're doing Wednesday. We need to shake it up. We're tearing the cover off the ball this Wednesday. 12 hours for our veterans. Make 12 hours count for Veterans Count. Back in a moment.